Brian Searl with Insider Perks and Modern Campground. As I told everybody here on this show, if I happen to freeze or the computer crashes or I disappear or something weird, that's just carry on as normal. The show will be better without me. My entire computer processing unit is apparently dying, and it's a known defect, and they're shipping me a replacement. So that's what I have to start 2026 off with an interesting bang. So we will see if we make it through this entire show in one piece. Welcome everybody to the first episode of 2026. We're excited to have another year under our belts here of MC Fireside Chats. It's our 6th year. Can you believe that already? 6 years we've been doing MC Fireside Chats. We started in at the beginning or during the pandemic. It was actually MC Fireside Chats was not called that then, but it started as a show with Ojai Barvik back then to report on pandemic updates, and then kind of evolved into what we have now. So interesting history. At some point we should count how many episodes we've done, probably a lot. So thank you everybody for joining us. How's everybody's holidays go? Did you guys have a good holiday? Happy New Year, everything?
Happy
Anybody
New
want
Year.
to talk about something cool they did, or you just stayed home with family like me and kind of just was chill?
We went to South Africa.
Oh, okay. Well, tell us about that. What's Christmas like in South Africa?
It doesn't feel like Christmas to me because obviously I'm used to being in the Northern Hemisphere and having a cold Christmas. It was 37 degrees, which in Fahrenheit is like nearly 100. So we were roasting, and it's really different. You don't have your traditional main meal on Christmas Day. You have leftovers. You have your main meal on Christmas Eve, and it's just you go to the beach, and it was a totally different one for us.
Interesting. Okay. I've always thought about doing something like that, but I like the snow and I like the winter, and I like we went to Germany and did the Christmas markets one year, and I just like that vibe of Christmas. And I know Christmas is different everywhere else. I should just kind of let it go and experience it like you did, but I don't know, maybe one day. All right. Well, do you want to go briefly around the room and introduce ourselves? Do you want to start with Phil first?
Hi, I'm Phil Ingrassia. I'm president of the U.S. RV Dealers Association. We represent motorhome and travel trailer dealers across the country.
Awesome. Thanks for being here as always, Phil. We'll go with your colleague in Canada, Eleanor, next.
Thank you. I'm Eleanor Ham, president of the RVDA of Canada. And like Phil, we represent the dealers that sell motorhomes and travel trailers, and then suppliers as well in the Canadian RV industry.
Awesome. Welcome. Thank you for being here, Eleanor. Scott, our other recurring guest, then we'll get to our special ones.
Scott Barr, the president of Caring Consulting Group. We're a market research company focusing in outdoor hospitality and the outdoors in general.
We do a lot of good market research this year, aren't we, Scott?
We're going to.
Most of it from you, but some of it I'll have a hand in once or twice. Rachel, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Rachel Hodge. I'm the Director of Guest Experiences here at Great Parks, which is in Hamilton County, Ohio. And we operate 22 parks and destinations across the region, over 18,000 acres of stewarded land, including 3 traditional campgrounds.
Awesome. Are these state parks or county parks?
So, yeah, it is officially a county park system. Used to be Great Parks of Hamilton County. But we're actually our own political subdivision, so we're not technically governed by the county or the state.
So you seceded from the union.
Well, I don't know about that. We still have to, report to a board and our CEO,
Okay.
but
Right. Well,
we get to make a little bit more of our own rules. Yeah.
all right. That's probably a little bit less hassle than government, but we won't dive into that. We'll talk about other better things. Vicky.
Hi, I'm Vicky Jones. I'm over in the UK, so I'm on the board of directors of the Glamping Industries Trade Association, which is what GITA stands for. So I also run my own glamping site. So I've got a glamping site called Tractors and Cream, which is a geodesic dome glamping site. We've been running our site for the last 10 years, and part of what we do is we've got a YouTube channel all about glamping. So we help other glamping owners with different issues that they have, or we'll talk to them about how we've done stuff and kind of built a supportive community. And that's part of the reason we started the trade association, because we didn't really have a trade association or anything. Like, you've got the AGA over in America. I don't know whether Canada comes into the AGA, but we didn't have any representative organisation to lobby governments and things like that in the UK. So we've literally been going just over a year now, and are gaining members in the glamping world. And it's been really interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. Like I have been supported with the Grading Association for time. We've been going to the conference for 5 years. So I think I missed 1 year due to COVID. I don't know if Canadians are actually a part of that. We should relabel it if it is. It should be called CAGA, right? Canadian American Glamping Association.
For sure, yeah.
That comes first for us, and US comes first for you guys. Different acronyms everywhere. Okay. So we typically start this show off like we always do, kind of asking what's come across your desk in the last month since we've all been together. Let's kind of start there. What's anything that you guys feel is super important? I know you guys were talking about the upcoming Tampa RV show that's coming up. Anything else that you guys want to bring up?
Yeah, well, I guess I can kick it off. In the U.S., January really starts the winter show season. And as you mentioned, one of the largest shows in the country is outdoor show at the Florida State Fairgrounds. It's the Florida RV Trade Association's Super Show. And Eleanor and I will both be down there next week. They have an industry day where dealers and other people from within the industry, including campgrounds, can go before the crowds of consumers arrive that week. And it is a very big show. And it's great to be able to go down there as an industry person, see the show, and then welcome all the people that are potential buyers. There's also large shows kicking off this month in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and in Ohio. The Cleveland RV show is getting ready to, I think it starts today, actually, January 7th, and goes through the weekend. And it's kind of a special show. They've been for years in Cleveland's IX Center, which is a very large indoor show space. But they're redeveloping the IX Center, and so this will be the final show for Cleveland at that particular location. I do think they're going to continue the show at a different place, but the show season is getting underway, and we'll be watching it very closely because a lot of times it can be a bellwether for how the whole year kicks off for the U.S. RV industry.
So what is the exact attendance going to be at the Florida Tampa show, Phil? I want to just give me a number, and I just want to see if you're right.
Yeah, I don't know. They have literally.
I know you don't. I just went 72,634.
Yeah, now something maybe. I don't know.
Okay. All right. Phil's not going to give us a prediction.
Let's put it that way.
Eleanor, how many people are going to be there? Give us a prediction.
I have no idea. It's huge. I cannot even guess. I mean, I could look at the numbers from last year and sort of ballpark.
I don't even know what those are. Yeah, I assumed it was in the 70,000s. That's why I just made up a number. But Scott, do you know? You're the data guy.
I don't have it all in my brain.
No, I'd have to research it.
I'm going to ask while we talk. But all right. So what else has come across your guys' desk that you think is important for us to talk about and bring up?
Well, I was just going to echo what Phil said from our side. In Canada, we've got the first two shows coming up will be the Calgary RV show. Brian, I don't know if you're going to plan on attending, and then the Halifax RV show as well. And really, we do try to monitor the show attendance to see and what the sentiment for sales are, just to try to sort of gauge what, because they're very good indicators usually in terms of what's going to be happening in the industry moving forward. I mean, I think we're still predicting 2026 will be similar to 2025, probably somewhat flat, not a lot of growth. But on the positive side, we've been seeing some really good numbers of visitors and traffic to the Gorvine Canada website, so our marketing site that markets the lifestyle. So we're hoping that some of those people will then take the initiative and attend some of the shows and continue exploring, the RV lifestyle and what we have to offer.
68,612 people.
There you go. You were pretty close.
2025. That's how many attended in 2025. I'm going to ask AI to predict the attendance for 2026, and we'll see what it says in a second.
Wow, I'm jealous that you have these massive shows. We just don't have anything like that in the UK. We have really like small scale shows. Like our biggest show is probably the Glamping show that we have in September. We've got something called the Land, Leisure and Tourism Show, which is all holiday parks. There's nothing really for, like, we don't call it RVs, recreational vehicles. We kind of, it's caravan and camping. And like, there's nothing that sort of size. And we've got kind of maybe one or two shows across the whole of the UK in the year. whereas you've got like an amazing choice of different places you can go. So yeah, I need to come to America and go to some of these shows. We did go to the Glamping Show Americas a couple of years ago, and that was like next level compared to what we've got in the UK. So yeah, good excuse to come over to the other side of the pond.
Well, to be fair, I think we have more land and more people, so it skews our numbers a little bit higher, right? We kind of cheat in that way.
Yeah.
The UK has a little bit less. But I think at one point I'm hopeful, Scott, like maybe you and I can take over the Florida Tampa show 1 year before we die. Sometime in the next, because we're going to live to be like 150, 200 years with AI, so we have plenty of time. I want to make it like a Woodstock type thing. I think if we added like all kinds of music and concert performances, we could drive that attendance to 500,000 easy. You want to help, Phil?
Well, you'll have to talk to our friends at the Florida RV Trade Group about that.
I just want to bring in like Metallica, and I think it'd be really cool. We could get some new people interested in the RV lifestyle that never considered it before. This is what prediction range. Conservative is 64,000. Most likely is 70,000, which would be up 2,000 from last year. Optimistic is 74,000. I feel like it's just hedging its bets. So
yeah, I could have probably come up with that.
Yeah, that wasn't really very creative. So
well, the weather's going to be good. I checked the weather for next week, and it should be good. That should help us get up to the higher end of that prediction.
Do most of the people come from Florida to that show, or do they travel from all over? Or
well, it's a combination of Florida residents, snowbirds, and people coming in from all over. The Southeast. It is a huge regional show. Because in Florida, you've got kind of a microcosm of the whole U.S. market, because you've got all the major player dealers in that market. Blue Compass, Camping World, Lazy Days, now Campers Inn, and then a number of regional players beyond those national chains, La Mesa, and some of the other big ones. So it's, those dealers are pushing attendance. And of course, Florida RV Trade Association puts a lot into marketing to get people there as well.
Scott, what have you heard about? Because I've heard some anecdotal, not real. I don't have proof, although I probably do have proof in the data that I have now, but I haven't looked at that proof. So we'll call it anecdotal for now. Scott, what have you heard about like the occupancy in Florida parks over this winter so far? Because I'm wondering if that may play either a positive or negative impact on the attendance of the shows.
Occupancy is going to be probably a little bit down overall. The Canadian market is impacting that. Sorry, but
no, we know.
But
well, it's not Eleanor and I's fault, to be clear. This is a self-inflicted wound, okay, guys?
No, I'm just no, but when you consider that Canadians don't make a huge percentage of the stays, but it's enough that it does create an impact. And so everything else being constant, you're going to see occupancy down a little bit. It would just due to that. European travel is going to be way down too. It doesn't make a huge segment of the stays in Florida in the wintertime with snowbirds, but it's enough that it might be noticeable. One of the things we might be seeing is that the snowbirds might not be staying quite as long as in the past. Okay. So I keep an eye out for that. I've heard rumblings about that people are, it's not anything about booking window, it's about actually how long they stay. So those are some factors to keep an eye on. Interest remains high. So we can't hang our hats on it necessarily. And I won't hang my hat on there because you'd see how gross my hair is from being outside. But it's one of those factors that impacts these things. I just as an aside, for example, I live in Maine, and our stays overall from Canada were way down. In some of the parks, especially on the coast. Old Orchard Beach is a big destination among people from Quebec. But what happened was, because there was now some more capacity there, other regional guests showed up. So they made up for it a little bit. And we may see that a little bit in the market like Florida.
It's always interesting to me, like, and maybe there's an answer to this question that somebody tracks, and I've just never asked the question. But why I brought you into that, Scott, was I was always curious for the RV shows, what's the biggest attendance? And obviously it varies depending on state and region. And Florida and Quartzsite, for example, are bigger shows that attract people from other areas of the country. But how much of the people that attend those are locals versus how many are snowbirds who always come to the area who are like, I just want to see the latest, greatest, coolest stuff? And then how much are the people who come from out of state? Has that ever been studied, Phil? Or
Well, I'm sure that the shows have some demographic profile of who comes, but I can tell you that they do some of the larger shows. This includes the show in Hershey, Pennsylvania in September. They do adjacent events with these shows, so they invite RVers to come in, and a lot of times these people are coming from out of state, and will actually camp at the show or nearby the show to kind of check it out. So, and other shows are really, like, for instance, I think the Cleveland show is a good example of a regional show that really will pull in from just basically that Northeast
Market,
Ohio, getting
Cleveland,
into
Akron.
maybe a little bit of Michigan area, but that's a big show too. But they don't have the kind of the multi-state type of pull. I wouldn't think.
Yeah, I've been to the Cleveland RV show once or twice because I grew up there. I was born in Akron, so
It's their 48th annual, so it's been around for a long time.
Yeah, they've been talking about shutting down the IX Center for, I feel like, for 20 years. And they're like, no, we'll just keep it around for another 5 years. But you're saying they're actually going to do it this time? For sure.
This is it. Yep, this is the last show there.
Oh, hopefully they'll find another good venue. So
yeah, I hope so.
I just want to see, they have like a dance. They have a squirrel that water skis at that show that always comes back. So great. It's the best part. Well, okay, other than the amazing RVs, the squirrel's better, guys. I'm sorry, the squirrel's better than the RV. It's a close tie. It's a close thing, but okay. So what else do we have to talk about? I know we want to get into booking windows. I know we're getting into some data that we were talking about. About that Scott and I have been gathering and working on for MC Hospitality Highlights. We're going to be bringing that back this month and reporting on some other interesting data as well. I definitely want to get to Rachel and talk about great parks and things like that. So is there anything else that we think we should be covering? We'll cover data in a second, but like the whole show is about data. But is there anything else you guys think we should be talking about? What does the RV industry look like in 2026, Phil? For the United States?
Kind of like what Eleanor said, we're looking at kind of a stair-step, low single-digit increase in sales and shipments in 2026. The things that are positive that are going on, we've got gas prices reasonable, interest rates have gone down since this time last year, but there's still some uncertainty out in the consumer base about uncertainty regarding tariff situation, foreign affairs, things that are volatile that create some dents in consumer sentiment. And that's what the industry watches on, because if consumer sentiment improves, typically discretionary purchase of not only RVs, but boats and power sports typically increases. Another thing we're looking at is because of some tax cuts that were passed last year by Congress, people in the U.S. should be getting larger tax returns. And there's been a lot of studies showing that when people get a lump sum tax return, a lot of times they're going to buy a toy or a discretionary purchase, and RVs and boats should get, some kind of lift from that. But, right now it's kind of a stair-step growth scenario here in the U.S.
Well, if it doesn't go as good as you think it's going to go, Phil, you just talk to me. We'll like, there's a new territory in Venezuela we can expand to. I'm going to get myself canceled probably at some of this point, but okay. So Rachel, tell us about Great Parks.
Yeah, for sure. So like I said at the start of the show, Great Parks is a county park system that's its own political subdivision. We have 3 campgrounds. So one larger campground has 121 sites. Most of those are tent and small camper RV sites, about 71 of those. And then we made some upgrades last year to expand the pull through and the full hookup sites. So we've got 12 pull throughs now, 32 back end sites, and then we have 6 rustic cabins. I'm sure nothing like the glamping experiences that I've heard about. I've watched a couple episodes of this podcast in preparation, and I've looked up some really cool places. Our cabins not as nice as those. Rustic is the right word, but they do have air conditioning, so that's good. And then we have 2 other small campgrounds that are mainly for tent camping. One's like strictly pods, tents, very primitive, no amenities on site. And then the other one has just under 50 tent and small camper sites. Then it has a shower house and things like that.
So I know this show is mostly about data trends and insights for our first week here. So I'm curious, how do you guys track that we talked about how you're a county park system, but you kind of have the board and I think chairman you said you report to, or the CEO.
Yep.
How do you guys track those dynamics? How do you guys pay attention to data? How does that impact what you guys do in your operations?
Yeah, for sure. So it's definitely a balance because we are responsible for stewarding public land and taxpayer dollars. So at the end of the day, what the taxpayers and what our stakeholders in the community are looking for is what we're really building towards, and then trying to, in addition to what they're telling us that they want through our master plan process and, surveys and things like that, then incorporating that market data. So part of that master plan process, which we implemented in 2019, was to increase the unique camping experiences in our region. So we made some of those additions at the Winton Woods facility. We also took like the shower house amenity down to the studs and brought it back to life, which is showers, restrooms, and then laundry facilities. And we, have to balance that kind of those amenities, things that people want, upgraded electric, Wi-Fi, nice showers and things with our conservation focus, because we're also a conservation agency. So taking the time during design and build to also implement those sustainable practices. So when we did the expansion last year at Winton Woods for the first half of the year, really, we added 7 gray water stations as well to the facility to bring our guests into our big mission of sustainability, mainly water conservation in that place. So
as you're studying this and trying to, your title is Director of Guest Experiences, as you're
Sure
studying
is,
this and you're trying to figure out what do guests want, like obviously there's some standard things that you can take away from the data that like Scott and KOA put out, or the data that RVIA puts out, or things like that we know are trending in private parks, the types of RVs that are being sold. Are there other data sources that you're going after or paying attention to that you're looking at, like because you talked about your unique challenge of balancing conservation, but are there ways that you feel like there's a target demographic or market that you can appeal to as the county type park that has to blend that together? Whereas because you're clearly different than a private park who would, not saying they wouldn't care about that, but that they don't have a mandate to care about that.
Yeah, for sure. I think that when we're playing this balancing act, we're obviously looking at the data for, camping, for RVs, for the types of folks and people who we need to attract for those. But then we're also looking across all of our destinations and our facilities on what guests need at all of our locations. So that's also part of it. Who are we attracting when we're doing our education programming, when we're doing our adventure programming on Winton Lake, which is in the campground, some of the sites back up to the lake. So for us, it's mainly families with, a couple young children. And then we have our retirees who are doing their RV, they're going around mostly. And then, during certain times of the year, we are seeing our family population bloom, mostly in our tri-state area, in our region, with we have some huge events that we do every year. Creepy Campouts is one of them. It's a Halloween-focused event where on the weekends in October and then normally the last weekend in September, we are inviting guests to design their own spooky campsite, and they get awards, they do things, and we've had families coming for every year that we've been operating it, 20 plus years. So it's that kind of generational pull, that nostalgia we get to play off of for some of our facilities, right? Because people have been growing up in these parks.
Yeah.
So that also helps with us to keep that clientele coming back year after year to our places.
What's something that you're really excited about for 2026?
Well, I'm excited to have the Winton Woods Campground open for the full year. Like I said, we were doing these renovations last year. So until Memorial Day weekend, we were not open full swing. And that's a big hit to the revenue line, obviously. So we were updating all that electric, doing the shower house. We had a bunch of the roads tore up inside the campground itself. So being able to see the facility open to its full capacity, expanded capacity this year, really looking forward to that and seeing how the public engages with the new amenities that are available to them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate you sharing. Please stick around. And if you have any other questions for anybody else here, we'll get back to you here and there and in and out. We'll have a question at the end. But please feel free to ask questions of anybody else here too, if there's something you want to know, because the less I talk, the better. Thank you. Same question to you for Geeta about trends, data, things that you're looking ahead to in 2026. Like how do you gather that stuff in the UK?
So we're really kind of trying to connect everybody because there's so much online now, and obviously we're scattered across the country, but we're lucky in the UK that actually we're so condensed that really you can get anywhere within a 5-hour drive, which is really useful to us. So we're looking at trying to connect people in real life more. So we're starting out, we've got our first Geeta Summit in the spring. So that will be in May. So we're trying to get everybody together, all the members, and do some in-person discussions and talks and education things and get the suppliers on board. So obviously the trade association is for everybody, for suppliers, for glamping site owners to come together. And so we're really trying to connect everybody is our plan for 2026. Because I think we are getting oversaturated with online stuff. So data-wise, we haven't really got a huge capacity for working out data. We're a volunteer team, so we've got one actual kind of member of staff who's doing the day-to-day, the consulting with the government and the kind of legal stuff that we need to do. And then the rest of the board is made up of volunteers. So they're volunteers across suppliers and across. I'm really sorry if you hear weird noises, but my son is getting ready for bed.
Totally fine. I have a dog sitting here. Everything we're used to it.
So we're not in a position, because we all run our own businesses, to kind of take time to gather any data. So we're kind of really heavily relying on what we're told by our members, and what it's something that we need to look at for 2026. And so if you've got any tips for kind of how we would go about gathering data from people, we'd be much appreciated to hear it.
I think that I will let Scott take that question after I say that. Scott, are you interested in gathering some data for the Glamping Industry Trade Association in the UK, maybe?
I would love to.
I think I would love to too. We're willing to help Vicky.
That would be amazing.
I'll probably have the price tag because he's actually an expert, but I would be willing to do.
Yeah, it's just so we've kind of put out a couple of surveys, but getting people to actually respond to these surveys is very hit and miss. And as I say, we've only got 120 members. So, and we know that the glamping industry in the UK, we've got around 5,000 glamping sites. So it's having no marketing budget and trying to get the word out. having to do everything on a shoestring essentially until we can gather enough momentum for it, because it's still very new. We're trying to keep our prices as competitive as possible to get people in, but at the same time we've got overheads. So that's what we're trying to do with like connecting people and getting people together and just trying to get everybody in the same space. So as I say, any help would be massively appreciated.
Well, no, I'd love to talk to you more about it at some point. There's a lot we can do. Because of my, I always like to tell stories of the old days, and one of them was I used to work for a very large corporation. One year they cut my entire research budget, and that year we did more research than we did any other year, just because we had to get really creative and we had to, figure some things out. So anyway, my take on it is there's always options. There's always options to do the research, and there's some different ways that you can approach how you contact people. We see as an industry. So, and by the way, don't let non-response get you down, because it happens to everyone. And as an industry, we're seeing it a lot. Where we've seen our response rates really drop. So we've had to work a lot harder to and get creative. And but yeah, I'd absolutely love to talk to you more about it at some point. And we can figure something out. I'm pretty convinced. I like the fact that you're already doing something. You're executing some stuff. You're doing some discussions. I think you mentioned you're doing some like discussion groups and so on. It's a great way to get rolling and to start gathering information from people.
Yeah, for the people who are watching the show for education and entertainment, so basically everybody's watching the show. Just hold on one second. Vicki, we should set up a call with you and Scott and I. We're just going to do business for a second, guys, so just close your eyes. But like, I really, like, I think we can help you, and I don't want to charge you anything, but I think I have a way, because Scott knows the data that I've been collecting in North America that's not public yet. Well, I guess it is now. Hi, everybody. But I think we have some good ways that you could report on some data that would be useful to your members that wouldn't require like a big research budget or things like that.
Absolutely.
So
and we have a lot of historical. Brian has a huge data set. I have a lot of historical data that is available that is for public use.
But I can also like gather it in real time about the glamping industry and all the businesses in. Yep. I think it'd be really interesting.
There's a
we
lot.
Should set up a call.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you.
Okay, welcome back everybody to the show. We just had a brief commercial break. Phil's back with us. Welcome back, Phil. Okay, so what are you looking forward to in 2026, Vicki? For the glamping
I'm really excited about getting together with people and doing more what I would call a road trip. So I also work for ResNexus, who are property management software. So that all came about from having the YouTube channel. I became an ambassador for ResNexus, who are actually a US-based company. So building ResNexus in the UK has also enabled me to, because it all works so well together. Having the YouTube channel, having Gita, having ResNexus, it all works really well. So I've gone on road trips for ResNexus to Gita members to talk one-on-one with people about how they're finding the industry, what they want out of the trade association, what they want out of property management software. And I find those one-to-one chats with people are so valuable, because then you can like sit down and over a cup of tea and really get to grips. And I know it's hugely time consuming. We make a YouTube video at the same time, so it all works quite well together. But I'm really looking forward to doing more in-person connection, I think. And also we started our Gita podcast last year, which Brian's been on. And I think doing more of those conversations, having conversations with experts in the industry. I just want to get as much knowledge to people as possible to make their lives easier. Like from starting the glamping site 10 years ago, when we didn't have a clue what we were doing, we barely even knew what glamping was, having no real source of information anywhere and just kind of winging it as we went through. I think if I can, or we generally can help educate people and help them not make mistakes or costly mistakes, I think that's what I'm all about, collaboration over competition.
Awesome. I'm excited for it to see what happens in 2026. Does anybody else have anything that we should be talking about before we dive into booking windows with Scott? Because it's some interesting research that we want to cover. on our data and trends episode? No? You're all just gonna, okay, all right. Scott, so we've been doing some research. For those of you who don't know, we started MC Hospitality Highlights, which is a data research report for Modern Campground. What was it, like, well, almost 3 years ago now, right, Scott? But we took like last year kind of off.
We kind of took last year off, yeah.
Yeah, we had too much stuff going on in both of our companies. We were experiencing some really nice growth. We started like the Outwired podcast. And then like I just had a lot to do with, well, AI and stuff like that I'm building in my company. But we're back. We're going to bring MC Hospitality Highlights back this month and hopefully do it every month this year. And the first one we're going to talk about is booking windows. And so Scott's got some really interesting data. We're going to talk a little bit about a preview for that. And then we'll have a report coming out here in the next few weeks. What do you got, Scott?
Sure. In terms of the booking window, there's a lot of talk about this across the industry, that it's changing and it's all over the place, and people are trying to get a handle on it. So the first thing I think that to keep in mind is that the booking window in general right now is vastly different than it was, say, 10 years ago. As an example, when I first started working in this industry, we asked this question of people, like, what's your booking window? Because campgrounds are interested in it. And so we found that the booking window was pretty short at that time, honestly. And that was because a lot of the campgrounds weren't at capacity. It was easy to get a campsite. RVers, I think at one of the surveys we did, something like 60% of RVers at that time took at least one trip where they didn't make any reservations at all. So compare that to a couple of years ago, we asked the same question, it was 9%. So you have a vastly changing market overall. I'm doing this to give a little background because I think it's important to keep this in context of where we're at now.
So you said 90% of people a few years ago make reservations in advance.
No,
just to clarify, I probably just missed it because I'm old and have bed here.
Yeah, correct. That is correct. So yeah, 90% made advanced reservations. They did not take last minute trips. They didn't just go out and
okay.
So that changed a lot. It was the RV industry in many cases, and Phil could attest to this probably better than me, is that it was for years and years, a lot of people bought RVs because they wanted to be able to do that. You have a traveling home. You can take spontaneous trips. You can stay wherever you want. You don't have to make all these plans. And then when COVID hit and the campgrounds got really packed, people couldn't do that anymore. So you had, some other things happen with, in terms of boondocking and so on. But really, to focus on the campground industry and the booking part of this, what you had was people splitting out, where you had most people really booking as far out as they could, because the campgrounds were packed, the good campgrounds, the good sites filled up immediately. So everybody was trying to book way in advance, as far in advance as they could. Now, the last probably 3 years, what you've seen is there's a split, and that split is becoming more prominent. And I'll get to that when I start talking about the most recent survey we did, is that you had people who, again, wanted to take those spontaneous trips. Now, because I want to there's a difference between someone who wants to take a spontaneous trip, which is, it's like, I just want to get up and go somewhere, or I'm going to travel, 500 miles across the country, and I'm just going to stop wherever along the way and not worry about it. But in most cases, it's that idea that I just want to be spontaneous in my travel, versus the person who shortens their booking window for other reasons. Okay. And it could be financial, it could be weather, it could be work or school commitments, and
uncertainty.
The uncertainty and the sentiment. Phil talked about this earlier, the sentiment and how important that is and how people plan. So what we have now are the group of people who are shortening the booking window, or who say that they're going to shorten the booking window, is increasing. We still have the people who want to do spontaneous trips. That's fairly constant. But what we're seeing,
is that a small number?
What's that?
You said it already. Is that a small number of people who want to do spontaneous stuff?
No, it's actually fairly large.
Really? Okay.
People who want to do it is 42%. 42% of people is, and I would focus a little bit more on the RVers here. It's slightly higher. The RVer crew is the one that wants to take that spontaneous trip because, again, it's easier for them.
Well, yeah, they already own their RV. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So yeah, that's the desire. They don't actually do that, and that's one of the things I want to distinguish here is between what people say and what they actually do. So because for a lot of people, it's like, yeah, I'd love to do that, and then when the time comes, like people will tell you, I'm going to take a solo trip this year, and then they drive out to a trailhead somewhere or something. It's like, I don't like this. I'm going to go get a hotel. So the intentions are there and the sentiment is there, but the follow through doesn't always come along with that. So
it's a great time to talk about it because New Year's Eve and New Year's resolutions, and all the people aren't going to gyms right now.
Yep. So exactly. It's so what we have now is about a little bit over half the people are saying that they're booking their trips within a month of the trip. That's pretty high. It's higher than most other parts of hospitality. But in other parts of hospitality, it's not. It's usually a little bit further out, honestly. But that 50% threshold is something that we've seen, like not just in camping and outdoor hospitality, but in some other sectors as well. It's depends on the economy and some other factors. But a month is not really a lot of time, especially when you consider during COVID, it was, most everyone was booking several months out. And so, but now people don't really have to. But the big part of this is a shortened booking window overall. Would you separate that from the people who want to take spontaneous trips? People who want to take spontaneous trips, that's a positive sign. That's because people, they want to take trips and they like it and they like that part of it. But people who are just shortening the booking window is something to keep an eye on, because what happens is when someone delays anything, the chances of them doing it decrease a lot. And we can go back to New Year's resolutions. It's like, I'm not going to go to the gym today. I'm going to start next week.
Yeah, I'm staring at my home gym and I haven't used it in 2 weeks.
So it's and we see this, it happens. Like we've asked questions in the past about people delaying their trips. Are you going to delay your trips to later in the season? And they'll say, yeah, I'm going to go in the fall this year. And then the fall comes and then a lot of them don't go because life happens in the interim. Things happen. And so whenever someone tells you that they'll probably do it, they probably won't. And so what we try to do is measure that softness in there, that soft kind of response zone. The people who definitely say that's a little bit better, even those, but so again, getting back to the booking window part of this is if someone's shortening their booking window, they're delaying making plans. They're delaying it for, as I mentioned, some of the reasons we've seen that people mention are uncertainty about pricing, uncertainty about work, family obligations. All those things come into play. Just uncertainty about the economy and gas prices. Phil, you mentioned gas prices coming down. That's one thing that we can actually, I think, start removing from the consideration set, because I think the future is showing that gas prices are at least going to be steady for quite a while, if not going down even more.
Yeah, we've got a new supply. We talked about that earlier.
And that's helpful for people because they know they can plan on that cost, so they know how much it's going to impact them in their planning. So the shortened booking window is, again, we're seeing over half the people are say they're going to plan their trips within a month, and the people who are shortening their booking window, again, as I mentioned, the most common reasons are life factors, but don't downplay the external factors like chaos, instability.
Well, because those impact the life factors too, right?
Correct. Consumer sentiment is a big one to keep an eye on. and what's the tone? What's the tone out there? How are people talking? How are they referring to travel and their plans? Those things are, it sounds nebulous, I know, but it's true when you consider that much of our economy is driven by sentiment, consumer sentiment. That's the stock market runs on consumer sentiment in many cases. So what you have then is people pay attention to that. They pay attention to what's local, especially what's happening around them. How is their local economy? And all those things are going to impact whether or not they make plans much farther out. The positive part that I would say about all this is that what we're seeing are the people who are the most avid campers, glampers, RVers, are the ones less likely to shorten their booking window. It is the most reliable group we have. And the one thing we've seen over the last couple of years is we've increased the number of those people in our ranks. So that's a good thing. And it's what's helping keep us steady. So they know how to make those adjustments. They know how to how to plan. They know that they're going to go to the same place every year. And that's one of the things that we look for too. It's like, if they know they're going to the same place and want the same site every year, they're going to book it as far out as they can, because it's part of what they do. What holds other people back though is when they want to go to a destination, they can't get a site, or they can't get the type of site they want. So those things will help push people to plan a little bit farther out. For the health of the industry overall, I would encourage people to book further out. I would encourage them to make plans now. So anyone who's in marketing, Brian, is the idea is that get people to book early and often, as they say, and get those plans locked in, because that's that. Again, the longer they wait.
Because we're all people too. We're owners of camp. I'm not, because I'm not brave enough. But most of us when watching the show are owners of campgrounds. And for our own mental health, book early, please, so we don't have to panic and worry whether it's coming. Is that what you're going to say, Scott, or something else?
Yeah. No. Absolutely. Yeah. And people worry about their budgets. They worry about what's going on.
Yeah.
Out. Personally, the uncertainty of prices, and this is something, and Brian and I, we've talked about this too, the idea of how much it costs to stay at a campground or glamping park.
Oh, we have that data.
There's the perception is that the prices keep going up, but what we've seen is prices haven't gone up, and I consider that is something, an opportunity for campground owners and managers to communicate with people.
It depends on where you are, though. We'll study this later, Scott. But we ran a data point that showed it's 3 times more expensive to camp in the northeast of the United States than it is in Nebraska.
Well, that's a regional difference.
Yes, for sure. But it's interesting data though on the pricing and how much it's gone up or down, or
and that regional stuff. It's like I mentioned earlier, local. What's happening at the local level, obviously impacts all of these things. So it depends on where you're drawing from. But people are staying closer to home. They want to have adventures closer to home. We're seeing overall that as well, that people are booking fewer trips, but they want to take more meaningful types of trips, maybe a little bit longer. Whereas just a few years ago, it was people wanting to camp take a bunch of shorter trips. But now, even though they're staying closer to home, they are taking trips that are a little bit longer, and maybe staying closer to home helps them do that. And then all this applies to that idea that when someone is considering booking a campsite, that the calculus they're doing is what's my budget, where am I going, what's the weather, what's what's going on externally, what factors are impacting the area I'm traveling to. Are there disruptions? Are there again, are there weather? Is there wildfires? Is it hurricanes? Those things, we can't control any of that, and those things are going to happen anyway. But it comes into play when you're looking at really trying to boost your camper night. So again, to just come back to it again, if the sooner you can get people to commit to booking, you do it. The other thing to do is when the idea of pricing is going to be top of mind for a lot of people. It just is. We're seeing a little bit of a split in the higher income folks are much more likely to go glamping and to stay at higher end parks to buy Class A motorhomes, Phil. And they're, but on the other end, people are looking to potentially downgrade a little bit at the type of park or type of site that they pick because they want to save a little bit of money. And one of the things I've done, by the way, if anyone is interested in it, I don't charge, it's free, is that it's a trip calculator on how to calculate the cost of a trip for however many people are in your group, where you're going, and how you plan to stay. And I think that that kind of thing is something that, if you're a campground owner, is something that you could think about doing. For example, the one I did initially was because of where I live in Maine. We get a lot of people from Boston who come up here to our area for vacation. It's like, what does it cost for a family of four to come up for a weekend? The least expensive, by the way, is to stay in a tent and cook all your meals at the campground. But Phil, number 2, bring your RV if you own your RV, and cook your meals at the campground. That is the second least expensive. So,
is there anything? Sorry, please finish. I thought you were done, sir.
No. That's I was kind of rambling on about stuff that has nothing to do really with booking windows. Other than talking about costs. I'm talking about. I'm going to be talking about making biscuits in the Dutch oven here pretty quick. So,
well, give us 2 statistics. Is there a couple statistics from the data that I threw at you really quickly before the show that you think is interesting? We could give people a couple data points on that, like as hard data of what we have, and then I want to get to the last part of the show. The percentage drop in that 9 percentage point drop in sold out inventory in that 50 to 30 day time frame, which is the one I was talking about, is one of those issues that is kind of it's a little bit worrisome, but it's also that indicator of people's intentions not fitting with their actual behavior. That to me stood out, Brian, of what you said along the 75% sold out figure in that 0 to 7 day window, and how it actually understates actual occupancy, because of the seasonal stuff. People just need to kind of keep an eye on some of that. And kind of how pricing, the pricing does impact the occupancy rates overall, to that people should really kind of again look at your pricing, just look at where you're at, look at where the competition is, and look at but really evaluate who your guests are too. It's something that you can use as a way to maybe bring some people in, or at least create a dialogue with them.
Do you think that people are customers are holding off for last minute deals? Do you think us as owners should stand our ground a bit and not panic at the last minute and reduce the prices?
Oh, that is a great question. We do know that
you have 1 minute, Scott.
That shortened booking window is impacted by people who are looking for deals. That's part of what they're doing. They are seeking deals. So, should you hold off? Probably. I mean, I would think that if they want to go on vacation, they're going to show up. But I would, and if someone's going to beat you up on price too much, then they're going to that's what they're going to be focused on the whole stay. So that's easy for me to say. I'm not a campground owner. I'm just saying that
there's so many external factors that goes into it too. Like what is the uncertainty? What is the reason that they're shortening their booking window or not? Is it spontaneous? Is it not? There's so many reasons to say, like, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, Vicky, I think is the answer. And that's a terrible answer, right? It's like kind of a non-answer. But it's study your market and determine that kind of.
But I mean, part of it too is I'm just an advocate of having people in the parks. It's like, maybe there's something you offer, and maybe you give them some, free firewood in a 6-pack or something for, a last minute stay for a deal. I don't know. I'm
Well, it's
throwing
like, I mean, we're doing a lot with competitor analysis too, and we'll have a new product for that out in a little bit. But it's the same thing that we see there is like, uh, what is the reason that they're not coming? I already have covered. But what is the occupancy in your area? Are your competitors full? Is it just you that's lagging behind, Vicky, for example? And then maybe you need to offer deals. But if there's nobody in your area, like there's probably not anybody coming. So then at that point, would you rather have somebody in the site for less or nobody at all? Whereas if all your competitors are full, maybe it's a last minute thing and they'll still show up.
Because as with having the booking platform, we're encouraging people in a revenue management kind of situation to do their yield management and to look at like, you can set rules so that if it's a week out and you've not sold it yet, you can reduce the price. You can look at your occupancy and reduce the price or increase the price depending on your occupancy. So sometimes the campgrounds and the glamping sites are just doing it automatically because that's what their revenue management software is telling them to do. And so I'm wondering, like, we don't discount our prices. We stick to our prices at our glamping site.
Yep.
Because I would hate somebody who's been sensible enough to book in advance and they're the kind of people I want them to book in advance, then being kind of discouraged from doing that and thinking, I'll just wait till last minute. And that is not how I want to operate the business. I want people to book way in advance.
I agree. And by the way, people assign the price they pay is part of the experience. They put that into account when they're there. You don't want them talking about it because you hope your hospitality overrides that. But it is part of the experience, because if they come in and they're like telling everybody what a great deal they had, by the way, that's not going to work well for you. Because other people are going to be like, well, why didn't I get the deal, kind of thing. The other part of that too is just, again, it can erode at the value that you're offering your guests. And it's like, don't sell yourself short on the value of what the experience your guests get.
All right, so we normally wrap up the show with everybody asking each other a question. I don't know how far we'll get into this, but we're going to try. So typically what we do in the last few minutes of the show, we start this normally at 10 minutes left. We're starting it with 2 minutes left. So we'll see how fun this is. But so typically what we do at the end of the show is we kind of go around and have everybody ask one other question, something interesting that you'd like to ask another guest on the show. So for example, and I don't know if Eleanor, if Phil, if this show has done it yet, but we typically do like Eleanor, if you want to ask one of the other panelists a question, go for it. But then nobody asks, let's say Eleanor asks Vicky a question. Nobody else can ask Vicky a question. And then we do process of elimination. Vicky asks next. So Eleanor, you want to go first since I called on you?
Sure.
Anybody you want to ask a question to about anything?
I want to ask Scott about his trip analysis, the cost analysis. Is that, like, we had done a survey with Gorvine in Canada about years ago, and it's very costly for us to update our, trip cost analysis. Do you have a specific tool that you use, or how do you do that? Because we had 5 different trips in Canada, with different types of RVs, different types of scenarios. But you said you do this, so I'm just curious as to.
I created it. It's mine.
Okay, so
it's my algorithm. So that's why I can share it with anyone I want to. So
okay, so I should get in touch with you.
And we can. Yep.
Okay, perfect.
All right, Scott. Who else you can ask a question to anybody?
Rachel,
Yep.
how is in Ohio? How's your occupancy been in your area in general? Like, I know that we're winter now, but I mean, like the past season, how did it go? Just briefly, how did your season go? How were things?
Yeah, so last year with being closed for half of the year, not being at full capacity, it's hard to really get an idea of the occupancy, down a little bit from 2024, but still high on the weekends, especially Memorial Day to Labor Day. Obviously, that's our hot season. And then for us at Winton Woods, the creepy campouts, every site is sold out every night. That is a non-negotiable. It happens every year. They go live on November insert day. They're sold out by the first hour. So it's nice to have something, that is going to hit every year. And that's what we have right now. And then we're trying to figure out how to expand that opportunity to our other sites to kind of give that specialized experience, but then also something that we know people are going to come to and we can guarantee, that revenue.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Your turn, Rachel. You can ask a question to anybody but Scott.
Okay, perfect. Vicky, so when at the glamping, you also operate a glamping operation, right? So at that operation, what is the facility like, and what are the other kind of specialized amenities that guests could do in your space?
So we've got 6 geodesic domes. We've got an event dome as well, so it's a 10-meter event dome. So the things that we've done in our site to kind of differentiate are bigger communal spaces. So we've got a big stretch tent that's got sofas and coffee tables and chill out space. We've got an indoor games room with a soft play. We had an octagonal cabin that we've converted into a craft hut. So now the kids can go in and craft whenever they want to. It's just a free thing that they can go in and do whatever craft they want to. We've got a treasure hunt on site as well, so that the kids can find their way around all these different things by going and finding letters and then unscrambling them to reveal a word, and then I give them a prize. So it's all about giving the kids lots of things to do. We've got an honesty shop on site as well. So that the parents can chill and the kids are entertained.
Nice.
Awesome. Vicky, pick the United States or Canada of RVDA.
I will ask a quick one to Phil. What is your average daily rate for, how much does it cost to stay at an RV site? I have no idea how much you guys are in Canada or America.
Well, I'll maybe go to Scott for that one, because it's a major range between the fully deluxe RV parks to kind of transitory parks where people are just pulling off the interstate. What's your range for KOA these days?
In the rates, it's geez, it's like for a tent site, it's like 50 up to I think for they have those super deluxe sites, they're like 125 now to 135, I think. So
to bring your own RV and just
right. There's such a wide variety of different sites. Like, for instance, KOA now has sites that have their own patios and cookout areas and things like that, and then there's others still very, very basic, where you're just pulling in with just the most minimal hookups. So it really ranges. And then of course you've got public campgrounds, which are typically more rustic, and their rates are can be half of a private campground. It's really all over the map, literally, is how much people are charging these days.
We'll give you some clarity on that, Vicky, in the coming weeks. Scott and I are working on something really detailed and interesting to answer that question. You'll have it too, Phil. All right, Phil. Well, you're left with Eleanor. Which is the greatest person to be left with. You already know that she's going to come to the dinner with you on Friday at Tampa, so you can't ask that question.
Yeah, I just confirmed that, by the way, Eleanor, too. So you're in.
Thank you.
But I do have a question. We're getting some anecdotal reports about Canadian snowbirds staying home from, Arizona, some of the Southwest areas. Is that what you guys are seeing, or are Canadians staying put this winter?
Yeah, that's what we're reading in the media. They're either going to other destinations or not, traveling to the U.S. I mean, there's definitely still are that are coming. The interesting thing is that, because of that, some of the fall shows saw, typically the snowbirds that would be buying some of the larger product to come down to the States, that product was not selling as much in the fall. So that's how it affected our dealers. But yeah, I would say that most of the data that, and I'm just reading it in the newspapers at this point in time, but that a lot of people are not traveling or making different travel arrangements for this upcoming year.
Cool. Well, all right. Any final thoughts from anybody they want to share before we wrap up the show? I know we're a couple minutes late. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us for another episode of MC Fireside Chat. Scott from Karen Consulting, Rachel from Great Parks, Vicky from Gita, and I can't remember the Tractors and Cream.
Yeah, you got it.
Look at that. See, I'm not as old as I thought. Wait till next week. I won't get it right. Phil Ingrassia from RVDA of America and Eleanor Ham from RVDA of Canada. Really appreciate you joining us, all your input, all the great conversation. And we will see you next week on another episode of MC Fireside Chats. If you're not sick and tired of me and Scott, we will be on Outwired in about 54 minutes, dissecting, I don't know.